Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Anderson and Copra Grit. They reached out to me through email. They said that they watched the channel and they like how I do things, and they want to know if I was interested in checking out their EDC Fixed Blade. Checked it out online. I thought it looked pretty interesting, so I said why not. And I must say, this is one super high quality. I don't know, I guess it's either a high-end production or production custom. You know, some things done custom. Comes with this very, very high quality leather sheath that has their name embossed in there. Nice stitching here. And it even has a drainage hole at the bottom, which I think is excellent. Not to mention, it came to me, you can see right here, it's kind of wet form right here. So the knife fits in there very nice and snug. And it comes with a pocket clip. Love that. That way I don't have to buy anything separate to make it a pocket carry fixed blade. That's just the way I like to carry them. And I think the pocket clip looks nice as well. It's got good tension to it. And you don't have to worry about it scratching up your blade because of this piece right here. But let me show you what I'm talking about. Nice tight fit. If you know what I'm talking about, if you've ever had a fixed blade that's been wet formed, it's got that almost pop to it. This one doesn't have like a pop yet, but maybe after even more carry time. All the edges are nicely burnished. Yeah, very high quality. I mean, when I first saw the sheath, I was like, yep, that's nice. So I was hoping the rest of the fixed blade was just as nice. Comes with this little leather lanyard right here, and this came in clutch for me. The way I carry it in my pocket, I'm gonna show you all this in a minute, but I'm able to grab it like this and then pull the knife out. So we have, in my opinion, one of the perfect sizes for pocket carry EDC fixed blades. I like mine anywhere from around 6 inches to 7.5 inches. For me, as far as pocket carry goes, anything above that usually is gonna go on my belt. So this one's coming in at 6.77 inches long. It's got a 2.8 inch cutting edge and a 3.03 inch drop point blade of AEBL steel. This comes out of Sweden. You can see the Sweden stamp right there and the Anderson Copra stamp on this side. Very classy looking. It's got like a dark acid stonewash look to it. I'm guessing that's what that is. That's what it appears to be. And there was a couple of reasons that kind of pushed me over the edge to want to review this knife, because I like AEBL. I like the overall profile. I thought it looked really rugged looking, which I love. And the AEBL steel is Rockwell to 62 HRC, so that got me excited. Plus, when I was doing some further reading, I saw that he puts a high hollow grind on here that is nice and thin. As soon as I got this out, I started feeling on this like, wow. So this deep hollow grind, I think it's a 20-degree hollow right here. Comes down from here to here before it hits the belly. Comes down to around 13 to 14 thousandths. And mine, it seems to be sharpened around 22 degrees per side. And then up here toward that tip, it does thicken up because of how high that is. You're going to get it to thicken up more and more. But it still only gets to around 18 thousandths right here at the tip. So you're going to have the strength you need. AEBL is a nice and tough steel. And at 62 HRC, it should hold a really, really good edge. Another thing I noticed right out of the box is this stunning. When I say this is one of the nicest looking edges. Now, it might not look as nice because I've done testing with this one. But talk about a mirror polished edge. I mean, this thing was sparkling. I could see it as soon as I pulled it out, and the sharpness to follow. I mean, very, very sticky sharp. So it seems that they are sharpening these on a fixed angled system, or he's just a really good freehander. I'm not sure, but it looks to be, by the way the edge is, looks to be a fixed angled system, which I'm totally fine with. That way it should hold an even better edge than whenever they're sharpened on a belt. You don't have any jimping up top, which is something I wouldn't mind seeing about right here. Would have been nice. But you do have a nice flat spine right here to rest your fingers nice and comfortably. You do have an excellent sharpening choil, and being that this is a hollow grind, you're going to have tons of sharpening life before it'll even thicken up on you. Let's see if I can show you this. If you look right here, it's going to go to about right here where my fingernail is. You can better sharpen it that high before it'll get, you know, thicker. So that's why I love a good hollow grind, especially on something compact like this where it's going to do EDC chores. It's not going to be a chopper. That makes sense to me, and they usually perform really, really well. Of course, this does have a much higher tip than I usually go for, But I put my bias on that aside and just tested it like it was any other blade. But you do have quite a bit of belly up here, which is going to be great for, you know, cutting on a flat cutting surface, doing some slicing motion cuts. And especially if you process game, this should be excellent at small game because you have that belly so you can make finesse cuts around, you know, vital organs and stuff like that. Should be really good at that. Well, that deep hollow grind and that mirror polish edge should perform outstanding. Let's find out. Man, it's always nice to get a knife this sharp out of box. This thing is extremely sharp, and you can see that I'm shortening my strides up. I'm not trying to cut super long pieces because I did find myself starting to slide. But push cut, you could do a long cut if you wanted to, but you know, you don't have to make long cuts. I mean, I usually don't. I can break it up into smaller pieces, but yeah, making short work of the cardboard, no doubt. That hollow grind, so slicey. I wish more companies would do hollow grinds. That's why I like that Griffin so much. That Griffin Fixed Blade, the one I just reviewed, that one's got a nice deep hollow grind as well. And they just slice so well. You know, I can understand why you wouldn't want one for a chopper or something like that, but whenever it's a EDC size fixed blade, it makes the most sense. You can get a nice thin edge. And you can see I'm adding more cardboard because it's slicing so well. I forgot I even did that here. I think I added 3 or 4 more pieces because it was performing that well. And I figured with AEBL at 62 HRC, it should definitely be able to hold up to it. Oh, I'm sorry, I added 2 more pieces. And I was in the nature trail behind my house the other day, and I had this one in the pocket. So I figured, why not? Sorry about that. So I actually batoned this one with another knife. I don't like to baton with the hollow grind, even though I'm pretty sure this one could definitely handle it, being it's like 13 thousandths, because I've done thinner, but I wasn't going to take the chance. It's too nice of a fixed blade. I had a hatchet on me at the time. Actually, I had the XC Designs Heiser hatchet on me, and I batoned with that. And this was like cutting butter. It was popping this. It was doing push cuts. And just now, the way you saw that, that's something I've noticed whenever you have the deeper bellies like that. If you're not using the forward portion in front of the belly, and if you're trying to do like a push cut, it doesn't, the apex doesn't hit the entire piece of rope. So it's not that it was struggling to get through it. It just did not make it all the way through. But I found the sweet spot, and yeah, it's blasting through this. No problem whatsoever. And that crisp edge, man. God, it made this so much more enjoyable. I don't have to worry about blisters with this one. You know, I love it. It always is a bummer when I got to go test a normal knife after I test something like this because of how well it performed. Pinch grip was comfortable. Now I am noticing around this point that my pinky, the way I wrap my pinky around the bottom of the handle, is coming in contact with a little bit of a flare at the back of the handle. Not something I really like too much. It can force you into a grip. Depending on your hand size, your hand could land there. And for me in this pinch grip, I am grabbing it. Now, I did make an adjustment to where I could kind of move around it, but it's not something I ever love to see. If you do something like that, I would much prefer it completely rounded. And I know you're trying to keep the definition of the handle to look nice and crisp, and it looks nice, but for what I just said, where my pinky's landing on there, just so I'm, you know, getting a nice solid grip, it's pretty uncomfortable. Now, that was so easy. I did an extra slice with that belly through that leather. And at this point, it's still ridiculously sharp. Blasting through all this material. Look, my dog said he thought it was sharp too. And nothing at all gave this any trouble whatsoever. blasted through the 10-ounce denim. And yeah, I could have probably kept cutting. I could have probably did this 2 more times. It was that enjoyable and it was that sharp. So excellent job with the performance on this one. A++ in my book. Wow, this one was an absolute joy to test, and I thought it did outstanding. Now, let's talk about the ergos. So you have decent thickness to the scales. Perfect in my opinion, because you do have decent thickness on that blade stock. Fills out my hand nice. I can get right up to that edge. I don't have to worry about getting hung up in here, or if you're worried, you can kind of choke back a little bit. My medium-sized hands, whenever I'm choked all the way up to that edge, I do have a little bit left over. Now, the only thing I really noticed, and it was more so whenever I was cutting the rope like this, because I usually grab it like this if you look at my fingers underneath whenever I'm doing slicing cuts or downward push cuts. And something I don't usually like to see is this little flare out right here. And the only time I noticed it is whenever I was doing those pinch cuts, because my finger was sitting on top of this and it was quite uncomfortable. But I made a quick adjustment, put my finger in front of it, and I was okay. Now, if they would have had some jumps right there, you know, maybe that would have kept my fingers from sliding back right there. But all in all, I thought it performed really, really well on pretty much all tasks. I would just call this a very minor nitpick. You know, my grip fits perfect in front of that, so I'm not having to worry about it in the hammer grip, which is probably the most things I do is in the hammer grip or in this pinch grip. But you know, anytime you see something like that, you know, depending on if your hand fits in there, either you're going to be sitting on it or you're going to be forced into that grip, or you can go on the outside like this. You know, just depends on your hand size. But my medium-sized hands, I can get right in front of it. So not the biggest deal for me. Now let's take a look at these beautiful handle scales. I love the look of these. So they have, it looks like natural linen micarta. You got somewhat of a textury feel to it. Nice and grippy. They got some beautiful, look at that, perfect softening of those edges. They rounded them over so there's no sharp spots at all. They even did a good job right here where this flat goes. They kind of knocked off those little transitions. This, like I said, is the only real kind of pokey spot, but it's not terrible or anything. You have flared out brass tubes that are nice and gigantic. You do have a lanyard hole, and like I said, this leather lanyard came on it. I think it goes with the aesthetics of this knife. Decent thickness. They are just flat scales, but I found them to be very, very comfortable. I was nice and locked in. Now for a quick weight with the sheath, it's coming in at 157.3 grams or 5.55 ounces. I find that to be perfect, especially when it's a leather sheath, because that usually adds some extra ounces to it. But the way this one carries and it hugs to the side of my pocket, doesn't stab me in the leg when I sit down. It's an outstanding one to pocket carry in my opinion. This knife is so easy to carry. The sheath hugs the right side of the pocket. When I'm sitting down, it's not sticking me in the leg or anything. Very easy to get out, especially with this little lanyard. I grab the front of the sheath. I can pull it out, do whatever I need to do, make a cut, and then it's very easy just to pop it right back in. The sheath is pretty much wet molded to the knife. Nice snug fit. Don't feel like it's going to come sliding out or anything. All right, now for some quick size comparisons, we have the White River M1 and the Essie Azula 2. The M1 is a little longer and the Azula is, a hair shorter. So very similar to size of the Azula, especially the handle feel. Next up, we have the Bradford Guardian 3 and the MKM Pocket Tango. These two are just a hair shorter. We have the Artisan Cutlery Sea Snake and the Griffin Scout f2.5. It's about identical to the Sea Snake. It's a little bit longer than the f2.5. And lastly, we do 2 locking knives like we usually do. We have the Ontario Rat Model 2 and the Hogue Ritter Mini RSK. Both of these are a little bit longer. All right, now for my nitpicks and complaints. I really only have 2 very, very minor nitpicks because I love the knife as it is, but I do think it would have been even better if they would have had some fine cut jimping about right here, maybe even some right here. So if you are cleaning game, you got a nice grippy spot right there just in case the blade gets wet. And you know, it's always nice whenever you're doing these push down cuts. I'm usually pushing down pretty hard and it's nice to not want to slip up there. So 2 rows of some fine cut jimping would have been great. And lastly, we talked about it in the ergo department. I don't love seeing this right here. If you are going to put that there, I would have loved to see that rounded over, just because, you know, depending on your hand size, if you're sitting on that and you're pushing down hard into something, it's going to be uncomfortable. But like for me, all I noticed is when I'm in this pinch grip, you know, when I was doing the rope cutting, that my finger was sitting on top of it and I didn't have any jimping up here, so I didn't push hard like I usually do. So, you know, it's a minor thing for me because it doesn't affect me all that much in the normal stuff I cut, but definitely something I felt like I needed to address. But all in all, my final thoughts, this is a premium fixed blade. I mean, and it's a very, very well made, a lot of attention to detail fixed blade. You have a good steel for an EDC fixed blade, Rockwell the 62 HRC. The overall aesthetics of this knife, I think, are beautiful. I love that rustic look. Scales were comfortable. And if I have to have a leather sheath, this is how I want it. Already with the pocket clip, so I don't have to purchase something after the fact. So if you're looking for a high-end premium EDC fixed blade that is not only going to look great, but is going to perform really, really well, then I think this is a great option. Especially if you like big bellies like that, you're going to love this one. I think it would make a great hunting knife, a companion knife, camp knife, and in my case, EDC all the way. It goes in the pocket. And I was able to carry this a good bit, especially got that nice looking clip there. So yeah, I like it. I can't thank Anderson and Copra enough for sending this one in for review. I don't know if our conversion is the same, but this one right here goes for 300 euros. Last time I checked, which was a while back, the euro and the dollar were about what and what. So I'm sure it's around 300 US. If you're interested in one of these, I will have them linked down in the description. Before I started recording this, I checked the site. They are available because I know everybody gets mad whenever they go to try to find it and they're sold out. So they're at least available right now. I can't promise you they'll stay available if you watch this 2-3 days from now, because y'all, a lot of y'all have the tendency to buy them all up. But yeah. If you have any questions in particular, feel free to ask me down in the comments. I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every one of y'all is having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.